this Thursday, March 14th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, NHL, college basketball, and much more. Sign up today using promo code NBA SGPN to get a 100% deposit match. And we're also brought to you by Champs. Run your own March Madness pool and enter Champs free bracket contest for a chance to win $1,000. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/champs to enter today. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Thursday, March the 14th, currently 11:08 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NBA betting picks for the Thursday night action in the association. And we'll recap what we saw on the court yesterday on Wednesday night in the NBA. But joining me here to help me break it down on this Thursday episode, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the NFL, MLB, WNBA, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast. It's Scott Reichel. Scott, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Unfortunately, not the best start to the week for me. Ended up losing the lock and dog picks yesterday. Had the under in the Hornets game. It was kind of cruising, and I think they combined for 30-something points in the final 6 minutes. So that's a bit unfortunate. So that game was trending well, just didn't get there. And then Chris Paul's assist was not close as the Warriors, really the whole game just flew to the under the entire way through, starting with the second quarter. And at that point, it really wasn't that close. I know some of the leans with the totals and the sides did work out in the end for me. Did lean to the Bulls. I know Terrell liked the over in that game. Both those got there as the Bulls did win in overtime. DeRozan had, what was it, 46 in that game, I think?
Yeah, he had a pretty good night last night, yeah.
Yeah, he had a monster night. I know I leaned to the Pistons as well against Toronto. They got the job done. There was some gambling controversy in that game, which I'll get to in a second. Linked to Denver in the under, that got there. Linked to Portland, that got there. The Kings got there because AD just can't beat Sabonis to save his life. Yeah, overall, decent day. I mean, Orlando also beat the Nets, so I got a decent amount of the leans right. Unfortunately, I just picked the wrong picks for the actual lock and dog segment.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an up and down week for myself as well. I took Denver yesterday. That one got to the window fairly easily for me. I was on the Lakers just in a situational spot with the Kings on the back-to-back. They just hadn't been very good on back-to-back situations, but the Kings pretty much just own the Lakers at this point, especially like you mentioned with Domantas Sabonis now being 10-0 in his career against Anthony Davis. And it's funny, I had the Jalen Duren rebounds on Monday night to go over, and lo and behold, last night he gets 24 points and 23 rebounds against the Toronto Raptors. Also did play the Magic at -6.5 when it opened. That one barely got to the window as well. But other than that, the Lakers were my bigger bet last night, and they just got absolutely crushed by the Kings again. So yeah, it's been an up and down week. DeJounte Murray, that was probably my easiest player prop this week. He has now 3 straight 40-point games against the Portland Trailblazers now. He put up another 40-piece last night. Ayton had a monster game last night as well, 33 points and 19 rebounds. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these unders have continued cash, and I think, we've been seeing some things on Twitter, at least coming out from the NBA league offices, that they want to allow a little bit more physicality, and maybe leading to less whistles being blown. Thus, maybe that's why we're seeing some of these lower scoring games from like 1990s, some 2000 scores being out there. I mean, last night, the Denver Nuggets 100-88 against the Miami Heat, 99-10 or 109-99 between the Mavericks and the Warriors last night. So, yeah, we're seeing a lot of unders here since the All-Star break. And I think the foul rates are down. I'm gonna try to dig up some information on that. But again, we're seeing a lot of lower scoring games since the All Star break. But you wanted to mention something about something with betting in a game last night.
Yeah, it was about the Pistons game, which doesn't really involve anything meaningful because both these teams are terrible. We played the toilet sound effect yesterday. We linked to
Mm-hmm.
Detroit to win the game. They did. They came back after trailing at halftime. And there was kind of a surprising move that Monty Williams made. And I know
Oh
that
yes,
Terrell and I
I got
did
burned on
like
that too.
Cade. Yeah, I know that Terrell and I did like Cade, his overall props last night because we thought he'd have a good matchup. And it was actually against his overs, but Monty Williams benched him with about 3 minutes left in the third quarter. There was a tie
Mm-hmm.
game. I think it was 77 all. And then Cade never returned. And Monty Williams just kept whatever lineup was working, and they won the game. So people were immediately complaining about Cade not being subbed back in. People were arguing that it was a gambling conspiracy or something happened. They won the game. Listen, I know that Terrell and I liked Cade overs, but at the end of the day, Monty Williams doesn't give a damn about your actual player prop bets. I don't think
No.
that Monty Williams purposefully sabotaged your bets. We know Monty Williams has been abysmal all year. I wouldn't trust him to tie a shoe on a basketball court based on what I've seen this year. But he made one move, one controversial move that actually worked, and people are still mad at him. Like they won the game. Okay. Cade was awful in the third quarter. He was really bad in the third quarter. I think he was 1 of 6 from the floor, 0 of 2 from 3, ended up having 2 turnovers, like 1 rebound, 2 assists in like 9 minutes. He was really bad in the third quarter. And Monty decided to use the hot lineup, whichever it was that was working at the time, and it
Mm-hmm.
worked because they outscored the Raptors by 9 in the final 15 minutes or so with Cade off the floor. And everyone's arguing that there's a gambling conspiracy and then Monty Williams is in on it. It's the Pistons. They don't win any games. They finally won a game last night. Not everything's a gambling conspiracy. That's all. That's the only point I want to make.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I was on that Cade prop last night, and it looked pretty good through the end of three
Yeah, it
quarters at
least.
least. And
Like it
yeah,
sucks,
I
but
understand it. I
Monty
mean,
Williams
like,
isn't
but
looking over going, "Oh, Munaf's got Cade over points and assists." Like, come on, like we got to be realistic
yeah,
here.
yeah, for my measly amount of money that I'm putting on it, yes, he wanted to screw everyone that had the Cade Cunningham props. But yeah, I mean, look, again, like you mentioned, 99% of coaches and players don't give a damn about your parlays. They don't give a damn about your player props. They're out there being paid millions and millions of dollars to perform on the court and coach. And for a lot of these coaches, now that it's quote unquote a players' league, that for some of these coaches, that it could sometimes be the last game that they're coaching if the front office is not happy, especially if your team hasn't been playing well for the past decade, you can say, for the Detroit Pistons. And I know Monty signed the huge contract in the offseason, but that doesn't mean anything to these owners if you're not winning games, and they'll cut the cord real quick. So I think it's just funny, especially when these players that do get injured, unfortunately, and they don't come back in the game, and you'll see people on the gambling Twitters asking for refunds, from you know, I'm not going to name specific sports books, but I mean, everybody knows what we're talking about here, especially when we talk about those bettors that want refunds because a player did get injured. But I mean,
What
that
happened?
just comes with the
What happened with
territory.
that, by the way? I haven't seen a refund like being demanded for about 4 months. Did that wave just die? Like what happened?
I think that wave died. I don't remember the last time one happened. I
Because I
mean, yeah,
remember
it's been a while.
Brunson got injured a minute into that Cavs game, and I don't
Mhm.
remember like any book offering a refund at the time. And I
No,
haven't heard anybody talk about it. Like that was the gambling trending hashtag for like a month and a half straight of just refund this guy, and then you'd see a couple books refund it. I haven't seen that for the last couple of months, and I really haven't missed it too much, to be honest. But I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. Um, I could be complaining too because there was the game, the first game for the Wolves without Carl Anthony Towns, and I had taken on the show. me and Terrell both talked about Anthony Edwards up to 40 points. And I think that was like 20 to 25 seconds into the game. Anthony Edwards, like, I think he stepped on Andrew Nimhard's foot, turned his ankle a bit, left the game, and I was like, oh God. But the last thing on my mind was like, okay, I need to get a refund from the sportsbook because he got injured 20 to 25 seconds into the game. That just comes with the territory. Fortunately for us, it wasn't anything serious for Anthony Edwards. He was still able to come back in and have a stellar performance in that game and got us to the window. But I mean, come on, man. It's just that comes with the territory when you're a sports bettor. I mean, I find it irritating when these people are asking for refunds because their player got injured, and it's I don't know. It just annoys me. I'll leave it at that. Anything else from last night?
Mine wasn't more about a refund.
Yeah.
Mine was mostly just about how
X's and O's.
Gambling Twitter automatically assumes that like everybody's in on it and there's a massive conspiracy no matter what bet you make. Like, no, like I think you got to find a better hobby at that point. Like, you just got to find something better to do. I don't really have much more to add. That's kind of just what I wanted to mention. Trying to think if there's anything else I really wanted to talk about. The Warriors better get Steph back soon because the team's not going to win many games with Steph not playing. And Luka got injured. Speaking of injuries and people wanting refunds, Luka got injured, hurt his hamstring, so the triple-double streak is over. I'm not sure how long he's going to miss, but we know Luka's had hamstring issues, leg issues for a couple years at this point. Hopefully it's not serious, but I doubt he plays next game. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, they play tonight. In fact, I think the line is indicating that he's not going to play here tonight, especially when these hamstring injuries can be very, very tricky for these players. So I don't expect them to play here tonight in Oklahoma City. I think the line is indicating that as well. I think this opened around 9.5 with maybe that baked in. It's all the way up to -11 right now for the for the Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the Dallas Mavericks here tonight. So don't expect him to play. I did see that Steve Kerr said they're hopeful to get Steph Curry back on Friday. And then if not, possibly over the weekend. I think they play the Lakers on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So he should be back sooner rather than later for the Warriors. But yeah, again, it's just unfortunate, for a lot of these injuries that are happening, especially the star players of the league. I mean, it just comes with the territory every single season. We see guys that miss significant time. There's guys that miss a couple weeks there, and that can really hinder their playoff chances and making the playoffs, or whether they're going to be in that play-in tournament bracket or they're going to be in the top 6 seed and having to avoid playing that extra 1 or 2 games, trying to get into the playoffs. But again, same thing, Kawhi Leonard, right? He left the last game with back spasms, and we're not sure if he's going to be played tonight either or not. So again, it's just that time of the year where those knick-knack injuries are starting to pile up for some of these star players, and even some of the role players as well. All right, Scott, before we get into our NBA betting picks here for the Thursday night show, let me tell everyone about our merch store. Hey, look, the NCAA tournament is kicking off next week, and you can get 15% off of everything in the entire store. But if you use that promo code MADNESS, first half unders, you guys know if you've been around long enough with the SGPN network, for the first round of the NCAA tournament, taking first half unders. You also have the college basketball experience shirts, the court storm shirts, but hey, also the NBA gambling podcast got some really nice hats in the merch store, just dropped, I think, a few days ago. So go and check those out. You also can get 15% off of those. If you're a coffee drinker, we have coffee mugs, t-shirts as well, some nice pullovers, some memorabilia in the store there as well. So you can get 15% off of everything in the merch store. Make sure you use that promo code MADNESS. That is available until the big dance tips off, which is going to be next week. So again, get those wallets out, get those credit cards out. Make sure you use that promo code MADNESS for 15% off of everything in our merch store. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, other events with verifiable outcomes and ton of fun social features that give it a feel of a betting social network. Cut offers lower VIG and fully customizable odds to create your own bets. Cut handles the payment side of things so you never have to chase anyone down for money. Social features include group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and much more. They also have a rewards program. You can get cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. Well, Sean and Kramer have a bet going on Cut. They posted on how many buzzer beaters there will be during the NCAA tournament. Over under set at 1.5. So you can go ahead and bet that over at Cut. Download cut.com in the App Store or at cut.com. That's KUTT.com. And use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's the fastest growing app in the industry. You play their pick'em game. You pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's games for a chance to win big. You can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. And you also make rival picks, which picks 2 players against each other. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for the Thursday night card. And hopefully we can get one on the board for this week. So sign up today using our promo code NBA SGPN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100 as well as an instant pick'em special. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com and you can find them in the App Store. And don't forget, again, make sure you register with our promo code NBA SGPN. Must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, Scott, let's get into it here for tonight. The first game on the schedule, that is going to be possibly the game of the night here. The Phoenix Suns, they are in Boston to take on the Celtics. Currently, as it stands, the Celtics are a 6-point favorite with a total of 227. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, Eric Gordon is questionable. Nasir Little is probable. Damian Lee is out, and Josh Okogie is out. So Eric Gordon questionable, Nasir Little probable, and then Damian Lee and Josh Okogie are out. For the Boston Celtics, Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out for this game. He is dealing with the right hamstring strain, and Jaylen Brown is questionable for this game for the Boston Celtics. Celtics laying 6 points here, hosting the Phoenix Suns here. Scott, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to take Boston. Just simply put, they're at home. They're 29-3 at home. It's about depth for me. Phoenix, I've not been a fan of their bench the entire year. I know they traded for Royce O'Neal. I guess that's a nice piece in the long term, but still, the point is I don't like the overall depth, especially with the scoring. Assuming that Durant or Booker have an off night, I just don't think they have enough to overcome that. Boston does. We've seen Boston sit guys. The bench unit's still solid. They have a lot of guys who can step up and have a big night if needed. Phoenix doesn't have that, so I'm going to lean to Boston at home.
Yeah, I wanted to take the Phoenix side here, but like you mentioned, that if Devin Booker and or Kevin Durant just have an off night, that there's not much that's support cast, we should say, for this Phoenix Suns team, right? And that's something that we've talked about a lot on the podcast, going back to the beginning of the season when they did make the trade for Bradley Beal. But I think my more favorite play is going to be on the total here. That's the first half over. That has just been an absolute cash cow for the Boston Celtics in their games over the past several weeks here as well. So again, we talk about some of the offensive talent on both sides here. We talked about the Jason Tatums, the Derek Whites, just how efficient the Boston Celtics is, right? I know Jaylen Brown is questionable here tonight. You also look at the Phoenix Suns side that, again, Kevin Durant's been playing out of his mind. I don't think that's been talked about enough. Getting Devin Booker back, probably shaking off some rust, coming back from the ankle injury that he did suffer. Boston 7-3 to the over in their last 10 games overall. And at home, actually, they've been a cash cow as well, whether that's covering the first half or whether that's going over the total in the first half as well. So I'll lean here with the Phoenix Suns. I don't love it, but I think my more favorite play in this game is going to be that first half over in this game between the Suns and the Celtics here. Do you have anything on the total?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean over. I still don't trust Phoenix defensively. I think Boston can still score a bunch of points. And Phoenix offensively can still, have some solid showings by Durant or Booker. They can still score. I'm going to lean over, but I feel like it's going to be close either way. I'm hoping that it's somewhat close. So you get some free throws at the end. I might send it over, but still, I think this game finds a way into the 230s, so I'll lean to the over.
All right. Any player props you're looking at?
For player props, I feel like if I was going to go with anybody, I probably would lean to Tatum. Tatum had a big game against Utah, but I think that he's in line for another good one against Phoenix. I'm not sure who on Phoenix is going to guard him. That's kind of the problem that you have with
Mhm.
Phoenix as well. Besides looking at the actual lack of scoring depth, do they have any real shutdown defenders? Not really. I mean, they brought in Royce O'Neal to try to help with that. But the point is, I think Tatum's going to have a big game. He was really good against Utah. I think that might carry over into this one, especially if Jaylen Brown does not play. I just see Tatum having an even greener light than normal. So I think he's in line for a good game. In honor of Terrell, I got to look at Nurkic props because opposing centers do very well against Boston.
Yeah.
So I would probably look at Nurkic having a decent game. Besides that, I kind of have to wait and see because I don't know who's going to play for the Celtics in this game, but I feel like those are two that I'm leaning. Most people are going to lean to Durant. I think I like Durant turnovers in this game. Boston,
Okay.
for the last couple years, has been really good at defending Durant, and I want to actually pull up Durant's numbers against the Celtics because as a Nets fan, I can tell you he used to turn the ball over all the time against Boston. I want to quickly just pull up what I could find. So looking at Durant's numbers against the Celtics, turnovers, 6, 8, 7, 3, 2, 5, 4. So he's had at least 3 turnovers in, what is that, 4, 5, 6, 6 of the last 7. He's had at least
Mhm.
6 turnovers in each of the last 3. So give me Durant over turnovers because Boston always tortures them with the double teams, etc. So yeah, give me Durant over in turnovers.
That number's set at 3.5 right now at plus 110 over on DraftKings. Um, yeah, these two teams just matched up on March 9th, which was just last week. I mean, was it earlier this week? It was on Sunday, I believe. And that was a game where the Celtics did win the game 117-107. So
In
maybe
Phoenix.
yeah, in Phoenix. Kind of an immediate revenge spot here for the Phoenix Suns, trying to return that favor. Tatum in that game, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Jaylen Brown, 27 points. And then for the Phoenix Suns, it was Kevin Durant who had 45 points in that game, 10 rebounds. And that was a game, obviously, without Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns, but he will be playing here tonight. Nurkic in that game had 11 points and 11 rebounds. Yeah, my first look at this was Nurk rebounds as well. That number's at 11.5 in this game. I mean, he's been a rebounding machine, and again, he's panned out pretty well for this front court of the Phoenix Suns here. So I do like that at 11.5 for Yusuf Nurkic. He's averaging 15.2 rebounds over his last 5 games. Obviously, that number is a little bit inflated because he had that 31 rebounding game against the Oklahoma City Thunder last Sunday. So other than that, I mean, he had 12 against Denver, 14 against the Toronto Raptors. Like I mentioned, 11 against the Boston Celtics. So I think he can definitely get one more rebound here tonight, especially without Porzingis in that lineup here tonight for the Boston Celtics. You have anything else for this game?
No, I thought about Tatum rebounds with Porzingis being out, but he doesn't rebound much anyway. But I think Tatum will do a decent job on the glass. I don't have much else. I think Durant turnovers is worth consideration. 3.5 is a bit high, but once again, 6+ turnovers in 3 straight games against the Celtics. He always turns the ball over a ton against the Celtics. So that's something I just remember as a Nets fan, just constantly being annoyed at. We'll see if it
Mhm.
continues here on Thursday.
All right. All right. Before we get over to the next game of the night here, let me tell everyone about our friends over at AG1. Hey, there's times that you wake up in the morning and, it's sometimes it gets a little difficult to roll out of bed and get to work, right? Maybe you're just feeling a little bit sluggish. Maybe your immune system is unsupported or you're stressed about things. It happens. It's life. You're feeling stressed and maybe your digestion just isn't at its best. But all that changed when someone recommended AG1 daily, and once I started taking their products and their powder and their drops that they provide, I noticed a huge difference, and had a lot more energy during the day, and I could really feel a difference in my daily health. and also felt a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more focused, because when you're stressed, you can't focus a lot, right? But when you're more relaxed, you can concentrate on your work, whatever the case might be. That's because AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. And not only did I replace my multivitamin with AG1, but I love every scoop that includes probiotics, digestive enzymes for gut support. They have vitamin C and zinc to support my immune health as well. And look, I got my dad on their products as well, and he absolutely loves it. He takes a scoop every single morning, and he's absolutely in love with it. AG1 has a team of doctors and scientists. It is tested for 950 different contaminants and NSF certified for sports. It's also formulated based on the latest science and maintains high quality standards. So what you got to do is go to drinkag1.com/SGPN. And if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. Like I mentioned, go to drinkag1.com/SGPN. That's drinkag1.com/SGPN. Make sure you guys definitely check it out. We're also brought to you by Champs. Champs is hosting a free March Madness bracket contest for a chance to win 1,000. Plus, if you host your own March Madness pool on Champs, you'll get an extra free entry into their bracket contest. Tiebreakers are determined by who enters first. So make sure to register now so you don't miss out. Head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/champs. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/champs. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here, my man. Next game on the schedule, we will go over to Milwaukee, where the Bucks are going to be taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Currently, the Bucks are a 7.5-point home favorite here with a total of 220. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, we'll start here with the Philadelphia 76ers. They will be without Robert Covington and DeAnthony Melton, and we already know Joel Embiid is still out. For the Milwaukee Bucks, questionable tags on Marjon Beauchamp and Malik Beasley. Both guys are dealing with back spasms. Patrick Beverley and Giannis Antetokounmpo are both probable, and Chris Middleton continues to be out for the Milwaukee Bucks. So questionable tags on Beasley and Beauchamp, and probable for Giannis and Patrick Beverley. Bucks are coming off of a embarrassing loss, we can say, against the Sacramento Kings in the last game. That ended, I believe it was a 4-game road trip to the West Coast for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now they're back at home hosting a Philadelphia 76ers team who, we know the story, have been struggling offensively a little bit. They did get Tyrese Maxey back to help with the offense, but I mean, when you don't have a former MVP and you haven't scored more than 80 points in over your last 3 games. Now, fortunately for one game, they did win that game where they only scored 79, but this team has only scored 79 points in back-to-back games, and now you go up against the Milwaukee Bucks here, who are laying 7.5 here. Scott, what are you thinking about this game?
Doc Rivers' revenge game? Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, I'll lean to Milwaukee. I can't take Philly after what I watched in those 2 games against the Knicks. I know that they won one of those games. This team can't score, just simply put. They've scored less than 96 points in 3 straight. I'm hoping Milwaukee, after getting buried by Sacramento last time out, shows some pride. They were on a West Coast trip. Now they're coming back home. The Sixers just aren't good. It's not their fault because Embiid got injured, but they can't score. I'm going to lean to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot here for Milwaukee to bounce back. And usually I do fade teams when they're coming off of that long road trip, especially from the West Coast. But I think this is a get-right spot for Milwaukee, going up against a Philly team that, again, is severely compromised on the offensive side, where it's a little bit telling that you've only scored a combined 158 points over your last 2 games, and you're not able to reach the 80-point mark. And I know, like, the Bucks came out after the All-Star break playing real well. They've kind of staggered a little bit over the last couple of games here, but I think this is a spot here where they just kind of beat up on the lesser opponents. I think this is an opportunity for them to go out there here tonight and kind of get right against the Philadelphia 76ers here tonight. And if you kind of, I want to see if they have anybody on deck that they would be looking ahead to. They don't play again till Sunday, which will be against the Phoenix Suns, in fact. So they'll have a couple days off. I think this is a good, an important game, I should say, because they have Phoenix and they have Boston next week. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond in those games. But at least for tonight here, I do like the Bucks in this spot minus the 7.5. Anything on the total here, Scott? That's currently at 220.
I have no idea because I think Milwaukee can score, but I guess I'm going to lean to Philly team total under. But Milwaukee's defense has been terrible. So I don't really know, but with Philly's offense recently, I can't take an over. I think I'm looking at a team total under for Philly if I had to pick anything.
Yeah. I think with that number at, let me see. If it's anything above 100, I'm taking the under on it. Let's see here. That number is going to be team props 106.5. When's the last time they scored 105 points to the Philadelphia 76ers? That's what I'm curious. That's what I want to know. Yeah, so I mean, I'll lean towards that way. I'll try to dig that up here while we get into the player props here. Scott, anything you like?
I think Giannis bounces back. I just don't think Philly can stop him. I have a hard time finding overs with Philly because nobody on the team can score. Mo Bamba unders until he does anything on a basketball court. I mean, we saw props from last game. He didn't do anything either. I don't have much. I just think it's going to be a pretty one-sided game.
Yeah, I think again the blowout factor in this game kind of scares me away. And if you want to get on like a Giannis prop here tonight, he would have to more than likely get it done in 3 quarters. I mean, he's done really well in his career against the Philadelphia 76ers, especially rebounding the basketball. I mean, he's had at least 12 rebounds in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games against the Philadelphia 76ers. A couple of 30-point games in there as well. So his rebounding prop for tonight is sitting at 11.5 at minus 135. So for Giannis, who's had at least 12 rebounds in 7 straight games, I think that might be probably the only look that I do like in this game here as far as a player prop. Anything else for this game, Scott?
Looking around, I see that if you want to go for like Kyle Lowry, steal it over a half at minus 145, that's cashed in 5 straight. Maybe Jay Crowder steals, that's done well recently. You can find a couple of like niche props here, but with blowout potential, it's really hard to find anything I truly love for the star players.
Yeah. All right, let's get over to the next game of the night. We'll go with let's go to my part of the world. The Washington Wizards, they are in Houston here tonight to take on the Rockets. Rockets are a 7.5 point home favorite in this game with a total of 226.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Houston Rockets, let's see here. So no Şengün, we know that he'll be missing more than likely the rest of the season. And Cam Whitmore's also out for this team. Tari Eason, we already know, is done for the year. For the Washington Wizards, Marvin Bagley is going to be out. Rashawn Holmes is questionable here tonight. And Landry Shamet is out here as well. So both teams missing, at least the Rock is missing 2 key players. And no front court depth again for the Washington Wizards here, Scott. But Rockets laying 7.5 against the Wizards. What do you think?
Yeah, my favorite play is the under, actually, in this game. This total feels too high to me at 227.5. We know Houston's been a good defensive team at home. Recently, they've been very good. Gave up 101 against San Antonio, gave up 104 to Sacramento. Very impressive in Sacramento. And they gave up 107 against Portland. So defensively, they've been good. We know Şengün is not exactly a good defensive player. Offensively, he's valuable, of course, but he's injured now. And I don't trust Van Vliet and company to match the efficiency the offense had when Şengün was in the lineup. So I like the under in this game. Even Washington recently, they had a 97 points against Memphis, gave up 109 in that game. Their game against Miami landed 218. Played against Charlotte, that game landed 212. They really have not done a great job offensively recently, and I do think they can drag the total down single-handedly if Houston's defense shows up at home. I like the under. I just think that this total feels a bit high, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially for the Rockets. Again, you're missing Şengün, and Jalen Green hasn't been very consistent for this team. So I think for the Rockets to win these games, especially without Şengün, is going to have to start on the defensive side of the basketball for the Rockets. And I think we kind of saw that. I know the Spurs were in a back-to-back situation there, but I mean, I think those are the type of wins the Rockets are going to have to get for the rest of the season. Like there's 103, 100 type of victory. So this number does feel a little bit inflated. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, the Wizards defense has not been very good this season, if at all, since the All-Star break. Yeah, I agree with that. But at the end of the day, you also have to look at who's on the court for the Rockets team. And when they're missing their best player for the rest of the season, more than likely, then you're relying on guys like the Fred VanVleets of the world, the Jalen Greens of the world. I mean, probably have to throw in Jabari Smith as well. So I think for the under, I think that's a good call here. I'm gonna lean here with the Wizards as well. I feel like this is too many points for this Rockets team, man. And I know the Wizards have been pretty good this season on the road. But I know they haven't been since the All-Star break. When a lot of times we talked about it, we'll start to see that separation after the All-Star break from the contenders and the pretenders, or the teams that are quote unquote tanking. But just to put it into context, the Wizards this season on the road, 7-28 straight up, but they are 20-14 against the spread. And I know they've only covered, well, they haven't won any of their last 10 road games, but they have been able to cover them. I think they were at 5-5 of their last 10 road games. So for a Rockets team that doesn't have Şengün, that doesn't have Cam Whitmore, two of your better scorers, I think that at that point, when you need points to separate, I don't think the Rockets have that right now. So I'm on the Wizards here plus the 7.5. Player props, anything you're looking at here, Scott?
I mean, I'm going to like the rebounds for Jabari Smith. I tried the rebounds for Avdi last game, didn't work. So, of course, he's going to have 12 tonight. So you want to consider taking that. Van Vliet assists didn't get their last game, so I wonder what's going to happen with him in this game. He might go over. But still, I think Jabari Smith rebounds is probably my main look. I'm leaning under. Both teams center-wise are pretty weak in that area, and Jabari Smith has kind of been a very underrated rebounder for this team, especially now that Şengün's out. So I like Jabari Smith rebounds. I think he's in line for a good game.
Yeah, I had this on Monday as well, or Tuesday, I'm sorry, with Jabari. Got off to a slow start in that first half. He did finish the game with 9 rebounds. But I think this is a spot where, again, the Wizards are one of the worst rebounding teams, not only over the last 5 games, but all throughout the season. And I think this is an opportunity for Jabari to have a really big rebounding night here tonight. So that number's at 10.5. It's the same number it was in the last game, that first game without Şengün, where he did get the start at center for the Rockets. So I'm assuming that's going to continue here for Jabari Smith, starting at that center position for the Rockets. But Wizards are the 3rd worst rebounding team over the last 5 games. And since the All-Star break, in that same stat category, they are the 2nd worst, only trailing the Toronto Raptors. So yeah, love the Jabari call here. I'm with you on that. I think that's pretty much it, man. I mean, as a fan, I'll be watching this game because I'm a Rockets fan, but I didn't see any other player props that I really did like in this game. You have anything else?
No, I tried Dylan Brooks under last game. He didn't shoot well. He still went over. I tried, Şengün being out, I tried to stick with what worked, but now they got to reinvent the entire offense. So, yeah, I'm not going to take Dylan Brooks unders for now. If you want to, I'm rooting for you, but with Şengün being out, it's an entirely just different type of bet now because the offense is still kind of discovering itself.
Yeah, and again, he's going to get his shot volume should increase a little bit more without Şengün and Cam Whitmore in the lineup as well. So, yeah. All right. Next game on the board. Before we get over to the next game, I should say, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NBA season with Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NBA and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame bets. All right, Scott, let's get over to the next game of the night. That is going to be the LA Clippers. They are in Chicago here tonight to take on the Bulls. Bulls are currently sitting as a 6.5 point home underdog with a total of 214.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, where'd it go? Here we go. For the LA Clippers, and again, this might be just a difficult game to handicap because James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are both questionable here tonight. Harden dealing with a left shoulder strain, and Kawhi Leonard, like we mentioned at the top of the episode, left the game on Tuesday night with back spasms and did not return. Russell Westbrook also continues to be out for this Clippers team with the left hand fracture. For the Chicago Bulls, no injury report submitted just yet because they do get that extra time because they did play last night against the Indiana Pacers in overtime here. So maybe a Clipper spot, a team that's on a back-to-back that went into overtime and is also traveling back home. But 6.5 here for the Clippers here. Scott, what are you thinking?
Well, you also forgot to mention Kobe White got injured last night. So that looked pretty serious. Yep. He'll probably be out for a while. It's unfortunate because he was having a very good year, but he got injured. Didn't look good. So we'll see what happens. But I want to lean Clippers, but the spread is very high. So I'm really on the fence here, especially with the injuries the Clippers are dealing with. I guess I have to take the Clippers. Like, I don't feel good about it, but how many points does DeRozan actually need to score for Chicago to hang in there? 30, 35?
I think 30 was the first number that popped up in my head.
I mean, the issue with Chicago that we've talked about for a decent portion of the year since Levine got injured, and I know that Kobe White stepped up, so it was not an issue. They don't have much scoring depth. And if DeRozan doesn't go full supernova like he did yesterday, how are they going to score? Like, I just don't think they have enough weapons on this team to actually find ways to put the ball in the basket. So I'm going to lean to the Clippers. I think that even with the injuries they have, Norm Powell might have a monster game. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to lean to the Clippers. Have they been good recently? No, they have not. I know that there have also been injured, but still, it's a really bad spot for Chicago. An overtime game with travel and your second best player probably this season is now injured. Not ideal. DeRozan played a lot of minutes last night, so I'm going to lean to the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Bulls will start here with how they've done on back-to-back situations this season. So, I mean, they've been pretty good. 6-5 straight up, 6-5 against the spread, 7-4 towards the over. And if they are at home in those situations, 3-1 straight up and 3-1 against the spread. But like you mentioned, I think the injury to Kobe White is pretty significant here. When you have DeMar DeRozan that played the amount of minutes that he did play last night and the performance that he put up with 46 against the Pacers last night, I think that's huge. You had 3 different starters last night that played 43 or more minutes: DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Ayo Dosunmu. And now you have a Clippers team that's coming in here that's going to be well rested. And again, we don't know if I don't expect Kawhi to play in this game. Paul George is going to play. He's not on the injury report. And I do expect Harden to be out there as well. So I think that could be enough for this Clippers team to get this job done here. Because if they don't get it done against a team that more than likely probably won't have Kobe White, coming off a overtime victory on a back-to-back situation where they're have to travel back home, shame on you if you're not able to get it done here tonight. So again, like you mentioned, I don't feel great about it either. But I think the side for me would be the Clippers here against the Bulls in this spot. Total sitting at 214.5 here. Scott, what are you thinking?
I guess, I mean, it's such a low total. I'm going to lean under. I'm not betting the total. Once again, I don't really like this game at all, but I'm going to lean to the under, hoping for tired legs, the Bulls offense being out of sorts without Kobe White, and the Clippers missing a bunch of guys. I don't think Kawhi's going to play. We'll see what happens, but Harden's been a mess recently. He's been injured or maybe just fatigued, but he's been kind of a complete non-factor. And Paul George hasn't really done anything. So I'm going to lean under in this game, and that's basically it.
Yeah, I probably got a Bulls team total under in this game. I think that would be the pivot that I would probably look at for the Bulls or an under in this game. Any player props? Player props would be a little difficult, but I don't see anything out. Let me just double check here because we don't know who's going to be playing for the Clippers side, and we don't know who's going to be playing for the Bulls side. And I find it funny that they have Kawhi Leonard player props listed, but they don't have anybody else. But I didn't have any player props. Not going to waste the time. Did you have anything?
I like Norman Powell over whenever that gets posted because he's going to have to step up if a bunch of these guys are going to be out. So I think Norman Powell, when the lines get posted, is worth a look. Thought about maybe trying to find a center angle, maybe Zubac, but I don't have much. Zubac might get more shot attempts, maybe. So maybe you might want to look at a PR for Zubac, but I don't really know. I'm going to lean to, if I had to pick anybody, Norm Powell. Maybe you want to go for Paul George, maybe DeRozan, but I'm going to stick with Norm Powell.
All right. All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go over to the Dallas Mavericks. They are in Oklahoma City here tonight to take on the Thunder. Thunder are currently an 11-point favorite in this game with a total of 235.5. And looking at the injury report for the OKC Thunder, pretty clean injury report. Everybody is a go in this game. For the Dallas Mavericks, a team that did play on Wednesday night. They are in a back-to-back situation. Luka did leave the game last night with a hamstring injury, did not return. Do not expect him to play here tonight. I think the line is indicating that as well, as the Thunder are an 11-point favorite in this game. Thunder coming off a loss in their previous game against the Indiana Pacers here, so looking to get back on the winning side of things here. But Scott, 11 is a number right now in favor of the OKC Thunder. What are you thinking?
I mean, Luka's not going to play, so the question is, can Kyrie carry the team on a back-to-back? The Thunder should win by a lot. Better question, does Daniel Gafford miss a shot? Was he 2 away from the all-time record?
No, I don't think he misses a shot, especially without much front court depth or if anything at all for this Thunder team. I think he's going to break the record.
Well, I'm only asking because most of his, of course, shots have been lob dunks or just putback dunks. So, yeah, Luka's not there, so the lobs might not be there for Gafford. So we'll see what happens. But I guess I have to lean to OKC. It's just a really bad spot for Dallas. You had a game against Golden State you won. Now you're traveling and your best player's not playing. This might be a Ewing theory game where maybe some other guys step up. Maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. steps up because he's going to get more run with Luka now not playing. Maybe Kyrie is a monster game. There's a way for Dallas to cover this. I'm just not picking it. I'm going to lean to OKC.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas has actually been really good in back-to-back spots this season. I had that number in front of me. Where'd it go? So on back-to-back situations this season, 6-4 straight up, 7-3 against the spread, 5-4-1 towards the over. And if those back-to-back situations are on the road, 4-1 straight up, 5-0 against the spread, 2-2-1 towards the over. Now, you would have to go back and look in those box scores and see if Luka and or Kyrie played in those games. But like you mentioned, right, with the way that Luka had been playing prior to last night and the injury that he did suffer to the hamstring, how much does that hinder the offense? And like you mentioned, can Kyrie then be able to carry the offensive load, and who does step up in the spot without Luka here tonight? So I just think I'm going to continue this, just fading the Dallas Mavericks defense. I know I gave this out on Tuesday, I believe, with the Thunder team total, but I'm just going to go right back to it. And I know it was a loss, but Dallas, again, the defense just has not been very good. And yes, they held the Warriors last night to 99 points, but again, that was without Steph Curry in the lineup for this Dallas Mavericks team. I'm sorry, for this Golden State Warriors team. So I'm going to take a look at it. Since the All-Star break, the Dallas Mavericks have the third worst defensive rating in the entire association, only trailing the Lakers and the Utah Jazz in that span. So I think we see a huge motivated effort here tonight from the Thunder. They're still competing for that number one spot in the Western Conference, coming off of a loss. And in those spots, they've actually been really good this season. Have the Oklahoma City Thunder at home in those spots, coming off of a loss, 7-2 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. They're averaging 125 points per game in that span, are the Thunder. So Thunder team total over for me in this game here, Scott. You have anything on the total? And then we'll get into player props.
It's a bit tricky because a part of me wants to take the over, but a big reason for Dallas's bad defense is Luka being one of the worst defenders in the entire league.
That's
So
fair.
it's pretty tricky to find. Maybe I'll lean to Dallas team total under, but I don't really have much for the total. I kind of want to see this team play more without Luka before making that decision.
Fair enough. Anything for the OKC side for player props?
For player props, I think Chet might be in line for a good game here. Chet blocks might be worth a look. I know Shea blocks have actually been good. His blocks are at a half at minus 145. He's gone over in 8 of the last 10, in 16 of the last 20, and he's done well in 4 of the last 5, actually, against Dallas. He's gone over. So I don't mind Shea blocking this game. I know Shea under assists has actually been really good. So that's 6.5. He's gone under this number in 5 straight. It's at minus 130. I don't mind that. We might be expecting Kyrie or Hardaway Jr. to have a big game with Luka being out, so that might be worth consideration. But yeah, that might be it. I think Chet might have a good game. Maybe Gafford has a good game on the boards, but no, I think we kind of covered everything.
All right, let's get over to I believe it's the last game of the night. We have who do we have? Yes, we have the New York Knicks. They are headed to Portland to take on the Blazers. Knicks are sitting as a 10.5 point favorite in this game with a total of 205.5. Looking at the injury report for the New York Knicks, they will be obviously without Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson, and Jacob Toppin is on a 2-week deal, along with Dwayne Washington Jr. Knicks did get back OG Anunoby in their last game against the Philadelphia 76ers and looked like the team that we expected them to be with OG Anunoby in the lineup, just playing some outstanding defense and being really efficient on the offensive side. Josh Hart has been playing out of his mind as well. I think he had a triple double in that last game with 19 rebounds for the New York Knicks. He's had at least 19 rebounds in 2 of the last 5 games for the New York Knicks team. So getting some of their horses back, still waiting for Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson to round out this rotation. But Portland did play last night, like we talked about at the top of the episode, against the Atlanta Hawks. Did get the victory last night, did the Portland Trailblazers, but now we'll welcome a New York Knicks team that looks to continue rolling here, Scott. So let's start with the side minus 10.5 in favor of the New York Knicks. What are you thinking?
It's a lot of points for a low total, but I think I have to agree with it. The Knicks got OG back. They've been very solid defensively. What is it, 3 straight opponents below 80 points? Something unheard of in today's basketball.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've been incredible defensively. Portland had a nice win yesterday. They overcame a DeJounte Murray 40-point barrage. Simons was very good. Ayton has been fantastic. So they do have some offensive scoring recently that's been working for them, but they're on a back-to-back. It was a very physical game and a very, just, I'd say, physically taxing game for them because a lot of guys played a lot of minutes. I'm going to lean Knicks. I don't feel great about the side, though. The total is kind of interesting because I think I have to lean the Portland team total under. Don't I have to? Like, the Knicks
Yeah.
defensively have been so good, and now OG's back, who's one of the best defenders on the entire roster. I got to go Portland team total under. This Knicks team is just putting the clamps down right now. I got to go with the under.
Yeah, their team total right now is at 96.5, and over the last 3 games for the New York Knicks, they held the Hawks to, I'm sorry, they held the Magic to 74. They held the Sixers in back-to-back games to 79 points. And again, like you mentioned, now you have a Portland team that's on the back-to-back against a defense they played last night that's not very good, and now going up against probably the best defense in the league when they have their guys in there like Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. So yeah, I think that it's a lean towards the Knicks here. I hate that it's in double digits, but I think the more favorite play is probably the full game under or the team total under, like Scott mentioned with the Blazers here in this game. Any player props you're looking at?
Josh Hart. I'm not going to go against him. If you want to go for PRA, I don't mind that. His assists are at 4.5. It's at about minus 111. He's gone over in 7 of 10. I don't mind that either for Hart, but of course I want the rebounds attached to it. I don't mind Ayton. Ayton's been very solid. I'll back him again. Besides that, though, not really much else. I'll stick with the usual suspects.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, you mentioned Josh Hart rebounds, Jalen Brunson points. Um, I'm not going to back DeAndre Ayton because as soon as I do, he's going to throw out a clunker out there. But he's been really good over the last 5 games that he's played in for this Blazers team. He's averaging 24.6 points, 16.4 rebounds. He's had at least 15 rebounds in 4 of the last 5 games. He has at least 19 rebounds in 3 of the last 5 games as well. And he's getting the minutes right. So I think that if he's out there getting the minutes like he has been, I mean, the last 3 games, 41 minutes, 33 minutes, 40 minutes, that he's number one going to be able to score and also going to be able to get the rebounds here tonight as well. So, yeah, we'll look at that as well. I think that's pretty much it for this game, man. I mean, not the most exciting card here tonight, but a lot of blowout potential tonight as well. But yeah, that's probably that is the last game on the card here today for the Thursday schedule. 6 games here tonight. So Scott, let's get into our lock and dog here for tonight. And then we will get into our underdog fantasy entry here for tonight. You want to lead us off with your lock and dog?
Sure. So hopefully we can get off the I'd say slump, and we'll pick up some winners here. I think I like a couple of unders. I know I lost with an under yesterday, as I ended up going with the under in the Hornets game. Fourth quarter barrage late ended up killing that, but still, I'm really tempted by this under in this Rockets game. I just think that this line looks a little bit too high based on what I've seen from both teams recently. The Wizards have been involved in some low-scoring games. We know the Rockets don't play with much pace, and now Şengün's out, and he was their best offensive player by a mile. This total feels massive at like 227, 226 and a half. I'm going to go with the under as my lock here. I think that Houston defensively, we saw what they did against San Antonio, both offensively and defensively. They might just be a drastically mispriced under team right now, where people are looking at their overall numbers offensively with Şengün, and they're thinking that this team can kind of figure it out with him out. I don't see that happening. I see 227 right now. I'll go with the under. Give me Houston showing up defensively, looking sharp, and offensively trying to figure it out. And I think you're going to see a slower paced game than people are expecting. So I'm going to go with the under as my lock in that game. For my dog, I might actually just back the Knicks defense, even though the team total for the Trailblazers is dangerously, dangerously low. I might go with an all-team total under on Portland here. Going with the team total, let me see what I can get here. Yeah, I'm going to go with 93.5. The unders plus 155. Knicks have allowed less than 80 points in 3 straight games. You're looking at Portland, who is on a back-to-back. You had a bunch of guys play a lot of minutes. Aiden and Simons combined for, I think it was 60 points plus yesterday. And even with all that, Portland only scored 106. They had 2 monster games from Ayton and from Simons against one of the worst defenses in the league in Atlanta, and they only scored 106. So I'm hoping on a back-to-back against this elite defense with Anunoby being back. Portland's offense will be in a box in the entire game. Give me the Trailblazers team total under 93.5 at plus 155.
All righty. All right. For my lock, I am going to go. It's either the Thunder team total over or the Bucks on the spread. I'll go with the Bucks here. Playing with fire a little bit, but I mean, for that, they got to bounce back here after taking that loss against the Sacramento Kings. Philly, like we talked about, offensively just has been compromised. The defense had been playing better for the Bucks until their last 2 games, but I think they can step it up in this game against the Philadelphia 76ers. You mentioned the revenge spot as well for Doc Rivers against his former team. Back at home, -7.5 in favor of the Bucks here. I'll take that as my lock. For my dog, I'm gonna go with a alt rebounding prop here. That's been pretty good to me over the past couple of weeks here. So I'm gonna go to that Rockets game. Jabari Smith. I think he should have a big rebounding night here tonight. So I'm going to go back to the well. Over 12.5 rebounds is at plus 175 for Jabari Smith. Talked about how bad the rebounding effort has been for this Washington Wizards team. They will be without Marvin Bagley in this game, so they really don't have much of a front court depth. But over the last 5 games, the Washington Wizards are the third worst rebounding team. They're the second worst since the All-Star break, trailing only the Toronto Raptors. So I think there's a good spot here for Jabari, who should be again getting the start at the center position for the Rockets to have a big rebounding night here. So I'll take the over 12.5 alt rebounds at plus 175 for Jabari Smith here tonight as my dog. Josh Hart revenge game here tonight.
He's been on so many teams. I don't think this even counts as a revenge game anymore. He's been on like 4 teams since. I don't think it matters.
It's kind of like the Dennis Schroeder effect. Like every time he plays against an opponent, we're like, oh, revenge game for Dennis Schroeder because he'll be on like 8 different teams. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate that call. All right, Scott, let's get into our Underdog fantasy entry here for tonight. Again, if you haven't already, signed up with Underdog Fantasy using our promo code NBA SGPN. I don't know what you're waiting for. If you have already signed up, make sure you use that or get your family involved, get your friends involved, anybody in a legal state that is also of age to sign up for an account with Underdog Fantasy. Again, NBA SGPN at underdogfantasy.com. All righty, Scott, where do we want to go for our entry here for tonight?
You want to start Jabari for rebounds?
Yeah, I think this should be a good bounce back game for him to get the rebounds. Like I mentioned, I was on it on the Tuesday night game for him. He only had, I think, 2 or 3 in the first half, and then he got it going in the second half. He only finished with 9, but I think, again, when we're going up against the worst or one of the worst rebounding teams in the association with the Washington Wizards, I think you got to look at Jabari Smith in this game. So we'll start there. We'll go Jabari Smith. Let me see. Trying to find it here on Underdog. Give me a second. But yeah, it should be 10.5. So we'll start there. Jabari Smith, higher 10.5 rebounds against the Washington Wizards. What else are we looking at?
Do you want anything with Josh Hart or no?
Yeah, I think we got to stick with his rebounds too, right? I mean, he's been an absolute monster. His numbers at 9.5 for his rebounds, 14.5 rebounds and assists. What do you think?
Well, I just want to look at his actual numbers rebounding recently. I know his numbers have been great in general. I'm kind of just wondering if there's a reason why I want to go with rebounds instead of rebounds and assists. You want to go rebounds and assists? Because the assists have been good too recently.
Yeah, that's at 14.5. I know it was hovering around 12.5, so the market has adjusted. He's gone higher on 14.5 in just 2 games in the last 5, and those was because he had 19 rebounds in 2 of those games.
Do you want to look at points?
I think
he's had at least 12 points in 9 of 10. 11.5 does seem a bit low.
Let's see. So points are at 11.5. And then points and rebounds are at 21.5 if you want to do that.
Okay.
Or you just want to go points.
I think points is fine.
Okay. All right. So we'll go Josh Hart, higher 11.5 points. All right. What else do we like? I know you mentioned Chet is in line to have a big game. Let me see how he's done against the Mavericks this season. 11 points, 11 rebounds, 13 points, 12 rebounds in 2 games.
Do you want what's the double-double for Chet?
Double-double for Chet. Where did Chet go? The Spicy's at 1.1.
Okay. And so that means the rebounds are 9.5.
Rebounds are probably at 10. Let's see. Yeah, it's at 9.
Sure. That sounds right. We get a push on
All right.
9, and if he gets the double-double, we cash it anyway. So,
Yeah.
sure.
All right. So we'll go with that. So we'll go Jabari Smith, higher 10.5 rebounds. We'll go Josh Hart, higher 11.5 points. And then we'll go Chet Holmgren, higher 9 rebounds here tonight for our Underdog Fantasy entry. Again, get involved. Use that promo code NBA SGPN, underdogfantasy.com. If you've already signed up with an account, get your friends involved, get your family involved, get your coworkers involved. Come tap in with us on Underdog Fantasy. Again, using that promo code NBA SGPN, you'll get a first deposit bonus of up to $100, courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. All right, Scott, that's going to wrap it up, my friend, for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Not really. If you did not check out the MLB show that Munaf and I did yesterday, we had Ariel on as a guest for the AL East.
Yep.
Check out that episode. It's pretty much evergreen content for the next couple weeks because the divisions aren't officially starting for the next couple weeks. But still, point is check that out. Besides that, of course, we got NBA. I'll be back tomorrow with Terrell. I got tennis coming back. I ended up taking a break, but I'll be back probably tonight or tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And besides that, enjoy college basketball.
Yeah, a lot of college hoops already started here this afternoon. So that's going to be there all day with finals, quarterfinals, first rounds kicking off, whatever the case might be here tonight. So, or all throughout the day. So enjoy the games, bet responsibly. And like Scott mentioned, Scott and Terrell will be back tomorrow for the NBA Gambling Podcast. Make sure to follow Scott on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Appreciate everybody in the chat joining us as usual, the usual suspects. Appreciate you guys tapping in with us. All right. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.